Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fear Assembly. We're going to get into everything horror today. We're going to get into some TV shows, some movies. We're going to even get into some spoilers for one of the first conversations. Those spoilers will come later in this episode. So when that comes up, we'll give everybody a moment to decide if they want to continue to listen on or if they want to drop off. And the primary spoilers today are going to get into Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's massive film, which is already performing very well at the box office, following up with obviously Backrooms and Obsession and many of these other great horror hits that are coming out. So, Cody, Annie, what have you guys seen lately? What's something that we should have on our radar and know about?
Well, I literally just walked out of Leviticus. I got home from Leviticus, used the restroom, and click play on Us. So, I mean, that's how soon it is. It was a movie that I heard a ton of hype out of South by Southwest earlier this year. I didn't have a chance to see it. So it's been on my radar. I do think it's going to be a movie that's a little bit more divisive than the South by Southwest reception would lead you to believe, but it's certainly worth seeing. It's very much in the vein of It Follows, only rather than the commentary being about like sexual relationships, it's about homosexuality and things like that. So just to kind of like the elevator pitch of it is you have, a couple of young boys that are into each other. The parents find out and they basically put them through this conversion therapy thing that's like a curse where this invisible entity is following them and it takes the form of whatever person they desire the most. So it was certainly interesting, well shot, well made. A couple of really good creep fest moments in there. So I think that's one that put on people's radar.
I
All right,
loved
and you saw it as well.
saw it last week, yeah, and I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't research too much going into it. I knew it was a conversion therapy thing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'd heard people said it was good, but I had a really good time with it. I was kind of like in my seat after it ended, like, whew, I need to take a breath because there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I had a certain experience with it, but then I've spoken to my friends who are gay men, and
Hmm.
they also elaborated on the experience that they had watching it, which like opened my mind up to it. It's really pretty phenomenal, I thought.
Hmm. And this is from Neon as well, right?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
believe it's a Neon release. So coming off of Hokum, back to back horror releases for them. And
Hmm.
yeah, the trailer was great. I think it came out a few weeks ago. I don't know how big of a release they have, but now that it's in theaters, I think this is definitely one people should have on the radars. Anything that you've watched lately on digital that surprised you, disappointed you, anything that you'd want to recommend or shout out?
Mm,
I feel like I'm a broken record at this point where every week you say that and I'm like, I'm still in Spielberg world.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to watch all of his films for a ranking video that I'll have coming out within the next week or so. I think he's got 35 feature length films
Mm,
and about half of them I had never seen before.
mm,
Being the more historic, 2.5, 2 hour and 45-minute runtime movies. And so of the ones that I've seen for the first time, the one that surprised me the most was Munich. That was one
mm.
that the
Yep.
only thing I knew about it was that kind of that bit in Knocked Up where they're like, Munich, man, like Jews were killing people in that movie for the first time. We're not the ones getting shot. And so that's the only thing I knew about it was like, okay, so
Yeah.
Eric Bana's going to be kicking some ass. It was a cool, interesting, violence begets violence, revenge only begets more pain and paranoia type story that I was surprised by.
All right. And what were your thoughts on the AI film? Because I know that was pretty divisive when it first came out.
It's not gonna fare very high for me. I saw that when I was a kid when it first came out.
Yeah.
Haley Joel Osment was like the next Macaulay Culkin whenever, Sixth Sense came out. So it was what, 2001, I think, when that movie came out, something like that. So I was like 11.
Yeah.
Um, I remember at the time I was like, cool effects, but I don't know. This doesn't really work for me. And as an adult, the revelation that I had looking into it after, because I try to do research after I watched them, is that
Mhm.
that was a film that Kubrick was supposed to make for the longest
Correct.
time, and it was only
Yeah.
after he passed away that Steven kind of walked in and was like, "Okay, let's bring this thing to life."
Mhm.
And knowing that, you watch the movie and you're like, "This should have been a Kubrick film." Like the Kubrick is all over the place, but Steven
Mhm.
Spielberg's like optimism, hopeful side is like pushing against that the whole time. So,
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of that one.
All right. Yeah, and as far as Spielberg movies outside of Disclosure Day that we're going to talk about more, I really liked Ready Player One, myself, which also
Me
was kind
too.
of a love letter to Kubrick in many ways, right? The references to The Shining and how the world is, made up of, different rules and maybe it's, going backwards and breaking the rules that
Mhm.
allows you to get ahead, right? So is that one that ranks a little bit higher for you or do you feel similarly?
I feel like I might as well title this video Steven Spielberg Hot Takes because I feel like I'm just going to get roasted. There's a lot of movies of his that are like the
Hmm.
big awards winners that I'm not as high on. And then there's 2 or 3 movies that I just think are genuinely awesome that always seem to be ranked pretty low. Ready Player One is one of those. I didn't read
Mm,
the book, and so I understand people that are like the book's way better, so it kind of tainted the movie for me. That's fine. For
Hmm.
me, without that perspective, I just think it's so enjoyable, and I think it's the
Yeah.
most like classic Spielberg that we've ever gotten in the later half of his career. So I enjoy that one quite a bit, and I will be holding the torch for all of my fellow '90s kids. Hook is awesome, and I will hear nothing else.
it's so
Hmm.
good. It's so good.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there's a lot of Hook references in the Michael Jackson biopic, right? As well.
Yeah.
So I think that's brought that all back to the zeitgeist as well. Annie, do you have a favorite Spielberg movie in general, or one that you were disappointed by?
It's so typical for me to say Jaws, but I did also my husband Kevin just rewatched all of the Spielberg movies ahead of doing an
Hmm.
interview with him, so I've been also in turn rewatching them all as well. And I forgot how good E.T. is because
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I hadn't seen it for maybe like 20 years, 15, 20 years. Oh my God, that and Jaws are just, I mean, I know it's typical, but they're perfect movies.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they're typical for a reason. And Jaws and E.T. both for me have that effect where if I go an extended period of time without watching them, it's almost like I get to watch it for the first time again
Yes.
because I forget how amazing it is until I'm
Mhm.
like a third of the way through the movie and I'm like, oh, this is
I
so
know.
good. I put on E.T. early on during this little, Spielberg binge, and my 9-year-old was next to me and she saw it for the first time.
Oh,
And I think watching it with her just extrapolated how much I love that movie
mm,
because it affected her the way that I imagine it affected a bunch of kids in the early '80s, where she was locked in. I
yeah.
mean, she thought it was cute. She was laughing. When you get to the second half and E.T.'s dying, she was distraught. When you get the moment where he opens the little containment thing and he's like, E.T. phone home, she was like, yeah. And so it was like I get to live vicariously through her. And then I overnighted from Amazon a little like plush E.T. and put it on her bed. So
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
So cute.
All right. And how old was she when you first showed her that? I'm curious because I've got a 5-year-old and I can't remember if
she's
there's like
9.
genuinely scary parts in it. All right.
Yeah, she's 9. I mean, she's been indoctrinated through the horror world long before
Hmm.
this. I mean, when she was 5, I was watching Scream, and she poked her head in, and that was it. She was like, "This is my world now, Dad." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, here we go."
Yeah. Hopefully she's not playing with Chucky in the background of your room there and mixing them in with their own dolls and toys and such. So
If I got her one, she would.
She should be. Yeah.
all right. So there was a little bit of news that came out this week that Netflix did not pick up season 2 of The Burrows.
Mm.
Before we get into that, were you guys surprised by that announcement? Did you like The Burrows season 1?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was an easy watch. I didn't think it was anything typically unique. I felt like I'd kind of seen it before, but I binged it in like 2 days. So
Hmm.
am I surprised it didn't get picked up? Not necessarily, but it was fun for what it was. Did you see it,
Yeah.
Cody?
I did not, but I'm curious. Is it a satisfying one season, or does it totally leave things open and now it's just like a frustrating cancellation?
Yeah, it is kind of open-ended. I was pretty
Mm,
yeah, was I shocked? No, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
gotcha.
I
it can
don't
it can stand alone. It wasn't like too many loose ends. It can
yeah,
be
it could go
entertaining just
both
for what
ways.
it is. Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
good, the effects were good, but yeah.
I ask because that is one of the reasons why I am usually so hesitant to get into TV shows. It's such
Hmm.
a time investment, and it feels like more than not get chopped off at the knees, especially with the streaming services. It's just like if this thing isn't a monster hit like Stranger
Hmm.
Things, get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had not seen anything of it. I had heard a little bit of it. Our buddy Chuck was talking pretty highly of it, but I just
Hmm.
never made it to it. And it sounds like I'm not going to now. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that, like, if you've really not got much else to do, I would say throw it on and just binge it in a day, but,
yeah.
I wouldn't put it at the top of your list.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I've heard Widow's Bay is the one to put at the top of my list. So that's the one that whenever I do that and Cape Fear, whenever I do kind of get out of Spielberg
Mhm.
world, those are the
Apple
ones I'll
TV.
dive into.
Apple TV, they don't market much, but they've got these hidden gems. Like, I'm not a TV show girl. I don't watch. I'm a movie,
Hmm.
preferably a 90-minute movie because I have
Mhm.
no patience.
Not
Uh,
many of those anymore.
no, I know everything's like 2 hours plus now, but so I don't really get invested in TV shows. But Widow's Bay, I watched it when it first came out, like when the first episode dropped. My connection to it is because Matthew Rhys is Welsh, and I will support anything that any Welsh actor does. So I didn't really,
Hmm.
and I knew it was horror comedy.
Mhm.
Typically isn't my thing either. I usually like horror for scares, not for comedy. But I put it on, and yeah, it's one of the best shows. And now it's just finished, but we are getting season 2. But we still have
Mhm.
Cape Fear as well, which drops every Friday night. So I'm in my Cape Fear bubble now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, how do you feel about that without getting into any spoilers? Because for me, like it's like hot and cold in terms of the intensity and the tension, and it kind of catches you off guard. But I wanted to get your perspective on it because maybe I've just watched too many horror things where I kind of like see where things are kind of building towards. But what's your sense of the show's execution so far?
Which one, Widow's Bay or Cape
Or
Fear?
Cape Fear?
I'm really enjoying it. It's the first episode was crazy, like
Hmm.
wild, and it was pretty gory and like shocking. It doesn't hold up like that throughout. I've done episode 2 and 3. So it's going in deeper more into the story now. But it's still I'm still like Friday night. Don't talk to me because it's on. So I'm still really enjoying it. But Javier Bardem is like probably one of the best actors ever. So
Yeah.
he's so menacing in it. And like
Yeah.
the way they revealed him in the first episode was like it was perfect. So I'm
Hmm.
there for him. Although Patrick Wilson and Amy Adams are like good as well. I don't
Yeah.
know. The script is maybe a little bit weak in parts and it doesn't really do their characters many favors, but for Javier, he's like crushing it every episode.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's definitely setting up a lot of these awkward tension moments where
Mm.
you've got, two characters that aren't sure what the other's motives are, and now they're forced to talk to each other at a bar or in a restroom or whatever else. And
Hmm.
then they just kind of, go through the motions and walk
Mhm.
out, and you're kind of like, okay, where's that gonna go? But I like seeing Patrick Wilson in this kind of role, because I feel like
Yeah.
he's kind of typecast at this point as far as a lot of these horror films, right? And
Hmm.
Insidious and so forth. And
The dad.
um,
Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, he'll always be Ed Warren. I can't unsee Ed Warren, like in bits and everything. So, but yeah, it's nice for him to branch out and do something a little different.
mhm.
He's like Scream King in my eyes.
Yeah. So, and a quick question: we kind of glazed on this on a previous Year Assembly episode, but do you consider like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon and all that, which is coming back for season 3 on HBO? Do you consider that like horror fantasy? Do you consider that just fantasy? Do you call it something else? Is that your cup of tea in general? Where would you kind of categorize that in your entertainment priority list?
Never watched them because I didn't think
No.
that horror, so I avoided.
There you go.
That's the
Very
answer.
dedicated. Uh, yeah, I would not categorize them as horror. Not that there aren't a plethora of horrific things that happen.
Hmm.
And that's one of those things that's always an interesting conversation. What is horror? What
Yep.
Mhm.
horrifies
Yeah.
us is a very different conversation from different people, just like what makes you laugh. But that's definitely a fantasy show. Like it's dark, it's bleak, it's miserably bleak at times, but very
Hmm.
much fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And there's definitely scenes that are a little bit more scary than others, at least enough where I gotta make sure the 5-year-old's not in the room,
Yeah.
especially with the dragons involved. Otherwise, he gets me in trouble with the wife.
Mm,
But no, I think a lot of people are into it. I don't know if it's just because of the dedication to the books and the R.R. Martin of it all, George R.R. Martin. But for everybody that obviously got into the first wave of the Game of Thrones and now all the spinoffs, it's interesting to see them double down both in terms of like the production budget quality, the storyline, these new characters. So I'm personally excited about it. But I would definitely agree if you said I don't consider it horror, right? And
mhm.
definitely it just leans more fantasy. And similarly, it's the same way, at least in my mind, with like Lord of the Rings, with Amazon and some of these others. So, is there anything coming out relatively soon that you're already like super hyped about? You're planning to go with significant other or friends or whatever.
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead.
I'm
Okay.
so ready for Evil Dead. I don't know if you've seen the new trailer, but it's so messed up. It's so
Which
disgusting.
which one? I feel like there's like five of them.
Well, I don't know. The one that I just saw in the cinema last week, like a few days ago, it was playing ahead
Yeah.
of Scary Movie. And it's so disgusting and gross, and I just can't wait. She's like, I think this might be in all of the trailers that are out now, but she's like
Hmm.
drinking the candle wax.
Yeah.
Mm.
Give it to me. Give it to me. I'm so ready. I want to see disgusting, disgusting stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, did you see the trailer for the Ice Cream Man from Eli Roth? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's gonna
that
be
that
interesting.
Yeah, and I think Chuck Cody, you may have also gotten an early view of that film, but Chuck said that the trailer can't hold a candle to what's in the actual film. So I'm very
Interesting.
intrigued to see how far they take things in that movie, which is obviously about an evil ice cream man that's kind of poisoning these kids and turning them into these killing machines, if you
Mm.
will. But yeah, this is one of the, I want to say it's like maybe the second or third from the Eli Roth horror label. And so I think they're going to continue to kind of double down on their formula and push the envelope and see how it does. But my understanding is they have like 2,000 screens lined up for August. So
Right?
this is something that I have on my radar as a absolute must watch, and I'll be there in the theaters for sure.
Yeah, it
Um,
feels like the success of Terrifier 2 and 3 has really like paved
Mm,
the way for even established names like Eli Roth to be like, all right, enough
mhm,
censorship bullshit, enough telling me to cut this and cut that and take this out.
mhm,
Like, we're just going to release the balls out insane gore fest version that I want to. And so it feels
mhm.
like that's really like one of the main things that,
yeah.
the horror section is about so far is just like DIY horror, unfiltered horror, getting the studio hands out of the cookie jar. And so I'm curious to see what happens with that one. I hit and miss experience with a lot of his movies. There's some that I really love. The first Hostel was one of the few like traumatizing theater experiences that I've had. It's a fun story. And then there's a few others where it didn't quite work for me, but I think he works best when he's unshackled. So
Yeah.
this could be
Mhm.
the one where it's like, all right, there he is. There he is.
Yeah.
All right. So wait, so what's the story then with Hostel? Was it
At that point, that was the gnarliest thing that I, as well as my father, had ever seen. And so I kind of dragged him to the theater because I was just any horror movie that had any kind of buzz, I was like, I got to see it, and they were doing that little ploy where Quentin Tarantino's name was the big name. So I'm
Yeah.
like, what does that mean? Let's check this thing out. And I mean, for those that have seen it, like that movie's literally like a snuff film. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so we went to Best Buy before going to the theater, and I picked up a greatest hits CD of Seven Dust, which is a pretty aggressive, heavy rock, heavy metal band.
Mhm.
And we were jamming on the way to the theater, and then we walked out, and I swear to God, I remember like it was yesterday. We walked out, and as soon as like the sun hits you as you leave the exit, it just felt like we were emotionally numb. Like we're just like slowly walking to the truck, like, what did we just watch? We shouldn't have experienced that. And we got into the truck, and you turn the engine over, and then Seven Dust just kicks right back in, and my dad just went, no angry vibes on the way home. And so
Yeah.
we just drove home and listened to the wind and just like went to our happy place for 30-40 minutes.
It's
Oh
brutal.
god.
Yeah. I got
Yeah.
to tell Eli Roth that too. I was like, "You've traumatized me twice."
Did you?
Funny that you're wearing the hat. I was like, "You're the reason I watched Sleepaway Camp, so thank you for that." And then I told him the hostel story.
Ah,
Mhm.
Hostel's so good. Yeah, I remember my experience with it was like, this is so disgusting. I can't stand it. I need to watch part 2 and 3.
Hmm.
I watched them later, not when they first came out.
Yeah.
Um, Probably the end scene of the first movie, if you haven't seen it, anyone listening, don't listen to what I'm gonna say next because I'm gonna spoil it.
Hmm.
With the eyeball hanging out. Oh, glorious.
Hmm.
Disgusting and glorious. Just delicious. I love it.
What's funny about that first film, and I don't know if this was like any kind of commentary or any greater point that he was trying to make, but like, me and my dad are like really like, oh my God, I almost can't watch this. It's so graphic in the first one. and then you have an equally graphic scene where he's getting revenge, and you're like, I can watch
And
this
you're
one.
like,
And so, like, I don't know why it's different, but get him.
Mhm.
So good. Great
Well,
movie.
just to hit on a few others that are coming out, Colony, I think, put out a new trailer that's a Korean zombie horror film.
Mhm.
That's one I'm really excited about. Obviously, we talked about Evil Dead coming soon. You got Resident Evil coming right around the corner. So, I mean, this is going to be, the summer of horror.
Mhm.
I think so. That's great for us, and hopefully, it's great for the box office and our theater operators out there. So we'll see how it goes. So this will be the moment that we're going to give our listeners a second. If you have not seen Disclosure Day yet, this would be the time to turn off the podcast for today because we're about to get into it. I know Cody, you've already done a full YouTube segment, which I really enjoyed,
Thank you.
hitting on some of your thoughts and reactions with spoilers to Disclosure Day. So
Mhm.
now that we've given people a second, I'll hand you the reins. What are your initial thoughts?
It's a complicated movie because I feel like Spielberg's name holds so much weight to where if it's not like this 5 out of 5 generational masterpiece, people tend to go way too far into the negative direction. And so, like, I've seen people say this is the worst movie they've ever seen. It's the worst movie of the year. It's the worst movie of his career. And I'm like, no, go watch 1941 and get back to me. But it's a movie that in many spots has that old school Spielberg magic. Some of that's when he's just paired with the right John Williams score. You can't help but get that feeling.
Mhm.
He for somebody that's attacked extraterrestrials, 4 or 5 different ways at this point, he's still finding different ways to explore it. And so it built a lot of intrigue in the first couple acts for me. I think Emily Blunt especially is incredible in the movie. Like, she's one of those actresses. It's like, do you just keep getting better? Like, is there a
Yeah.
ceiling for you at some point? I thought that the bathtub scene in A Quiet Place would be it, but no, we just keep finding better ways for her to just be outstanding. There's a couple of pretty solid action sequences. The problem with the movie is that it builds so much mystery and intrigue that I don't feel like it really fully pays off in the third act. And part of the reason is because the ultimate payoff is kind of a dated concept, the
Mhm.
importance of the news, the people's attachment and their relationship with the news. And it just feels like something that maybe would have hit really hard 20 years ago when people still watched the news. Nowadays, it just you can't get away from the fact that the whole plot of the movie is we've got to get this important information to this newscast because that's the only way people are going to believe it. And it's like, but would they? Like,
Mhm.
I get the whole fake news. If you put it on YouTube, people say it's AI. Like, I get there's complications there, but the end point of the movie doesn't exactly hold water either, where it's like, just because this newscast is playing it, the whole world's not going to stop and watch and be like, oh my God, this is real.
Mhm.
It just, so it's kind of a flawed baseline for the story.
Mhm.
The only other thing that I would say is that it's a movie that it builds so much mystery that it kind of rides a frustrating line of giving you some answers, but certain things that just don't make sense. They don't even bother trying to get into it. Like, I still don't understand what's going on with the Coleman Domingo character, who just seems to
Mhm.
know everything. I was waiting for him to be revealed as like an alien or something. That never happened. So I'm like,
Mhm.
where did he get all this info? Because it seems like he's like 10 miles ahead of everybody. And the just basic movie making thing that frustrated me is like a gripe is you kind of have that classic Spielberg, you know, dark and the like dark group of government agents. They're out here as the
Mhm.
bad guys. And they're trying to establish this threat level. And yet every single time they've got our lead characters dead to rights, they just like slip out the bathroom window or
Mhm.
nobody sees them. It's always this really
Yeah.
contrived way that they don't win. And I'm like, can't really have
Yep.
it both ways. Either they're a
They-
threat or they're stupid.
Yeah.
So I
Definitely.
liked it overall. It's not one of his best films. Like, if I'm ranking all 35 of his films, which I'm going to be doing here soon, it's not going to make it out of like the bottom 10, but I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's
Mhm.
unwatchable. I think there's still a lot of things that are cool about it.
I
All
feel
right.
it's the same, which is surprising. I enjoyed it, but I thought it was pretty cheesy.
Mm.
I thought the script was really corny. I don't know. Why are you telling me something that's happening in front of my face? Like
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
just made me feel like I was stupid and needed stuff to be explained to me. I do think that Emily Blunt carried it. I thought she was fantastic. She was like she was insane, and I love her in all her performances. But she really did carry the movie. It was too long. There was not much happening for a period of time. The train sequence was cool. I liked that. That was fun.
Hmm.
I think the end scene with the reporter, I thought she was fantastic. The way that she gets emotional and choked up while I thought that was really good. But
Hmm.
like I said, it wasn't it it's not relevant today. You mean something like
Right.
that, it just put it on social media and it goes viral. Nobody watches the news anymore.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I was just
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Um, I thought it was just okay.
All right. And so I'm sure you guys both know, but that reporter character that you're referring to, she was a real reporter
Yeah.
and left her job, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago to get into
Mhm.
acting. And then this role somehow came her way and it was
Crazy.
obviously the right fit and she nailed it, So
Yeah.
but how many reporter roles is she gonna play, right? So it's
Yeah,
like we'll see
exactly.
what she does next.
Yeah.
And to your point, like I don't know. I think I had too high of expectations going into this as well. Also because, Spielberg himself was hyping it up. Like, there's a lot of truth in this thing, go see it. It's really important. But
Yeah.
then leaves it with like, oh, discuss amongst yourselves, make up your own mind of what's real, what the, mother alien says at the end, whatever that thing was,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I agree with you, Cody, that leaving it with that after this buildup of like, okay, you're about to have this thing revealed to you, this thing that we've been teasing in like the real life,
Hmm.
press junkets and stuff, and then it's just like a bag of nothing, right? And
Well,
yeah,
almost feels like a story that's missing the first act and missing the last act. Like we
Mm,
spent the whole movie in second act. And I liked the fact that it just kind of started in the middle of things and I had to figure out what
yeah.
the significance of all this was. It kind of had me on my toes and I locked in. But then when you don't have the payoff, it's like, so I just spent the whole movie and all the buildup, and then
Yeah.
right.
listen, cut to black. What? No, tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in one of the IMAXs where they live streamed an interview with Spielberg and some of the cast like right before they were showing the movie, which was really cool. My wife surprised me; I didn't know that she was taking me to it. And
Hmm.
as I've said many times on these podcasts, she hates anything scary. So I was like telling her before, I'm like, "Hey, if it's too scary, just close your eyes. I can't have another fight like Sinners, after the fact," which terrified her. But yeah, when that movie ended, there was an audible groan from the crowd that I was in. It was a Friday night in downtown
Hmm.
Austin, and yeah, it was just I didn't know what to say to her. I was waiting for her to tell me what she thought, and then she was like, "So that was good, right?" Because like she just wanted to be a fun date night thing,
Yeah.
but I think she knew that I was also just so disappointed by it. And for me, my biggest thing, it's like you talk about Emily Blunt's performance. So like they build up her character, right? Like she suddenly can speak Korean, and she knows what
Mhm.
this, the backstory on this person with telepathy, and yet she needs a translation from the other guy of what the alien whispered in his ear. What do you mean? I thought you knew what everybody's saying, and I
Hmm.
thought you had telepathy. So why do we need to play the telephone game at the end to then
Yeah.
just go sit at the desk outside of just again like the posturing, right? But the her male cohort, I don't remember the name of his character. It's like, what was the point of his you know involvement in this other than just to have another character, right?
Yeah.
And then of course you've got Emily Blunt's significant other early on who just plays the buffoon, but also the person who's like the reasonable one, like, oh, you're acting nuts, aliens, what are you talking about, and he just wants to jam out down the street in Kansas City, which is cool. um but yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know, it's just all over the map, and it's just really frustrating me because again, when you make a movie, Spielberg knows this, when you make a movie for 100 million plus dollars, it means that every minute on screen there was over $1 million invested in that, right?
Hmm.
Why isn't it perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Obsession can be, I don't want to call it a perfect film, but if it can be great at a $750,000, production budget and obviously a whole different thing, why can't we have that same level of care in a big blockbuster film that's obviously going to do, $250 million in the box office and, remain in the zeitgeist of conversation. But that's what frustrates me. And the other part is clearly Spielberg has some information and knowledge and things that conspiracy theorists and others would be talking about. But he played it so safe. He's like, oh, I'm
Mm,
gonna I'm gonna tease this, but then I'm just gonna like, pull the
Hmm.
camera back and then we're gonna jump over here and say, "Oh, look, Roswell. Oh, look, UFO. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun to show on screen?" I don't know. The other part that really bothered me that I wanted to share with you guys because I think you would echo this is too much of the movie is like watching characters watch TV or watch their phones,
Mhm.
and I wanted them to kind of like, kind of take you as the audience into those scenes
Mm.
more to make it more, again, lively, interactive, give you the emotion of the moment instead of just like, oh, look, they're learning about Roswell. Like, I don't care. Like, everybody knows about Roswell at this point. If you
Mhm.
if you had any interest in aliens and UFOs, you know some of the lore, you know a little bit about this place called Area 51, which isn't even mentioned in the movie, right? There's also probably other reasons why he chose certain places like Kansas City and others that may or may not come out in the future. We're not going to necessarily talk about that here. Um, but it's like he teases all these things and then nothing happens, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys share that frustration on those points.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like an idea that he's probably been kicking around for the last 20 years, wondering when's the right time to do another Alien film. Like I read that he really like pushed it in 2023, and I think that's probably the moment where David Koepp was told go, and I think he needed more time. Like it seemed like the Spielberg has had a long time, this is just speculation, has probably had a decade or more of mapping this idea out in his head of like this is what this movie's going to look like, and then the screenwriter who's extreme hit or miss, has done great stuff like Jurassic Park and has done other things I haven't liked at all. Didn't feel like he got enough time to really make the script the best version of itself. And so you have some moments that are great, and then you have some lines of dialogue that feels like that was the first thing that you wrote, and we never went back to it and sharpened that up a bit. Like
Yeah.
there was
Mhm.
this is as nitpick gets, but there was a line of dialogue with the Josh O'Connor character where he's, trying to really like bring his girlfriend into it. And he's like, this is important. We have to show this because everybody in the whole wide world. And as soon as he said wide world, I'm like, I have never heard anybody say that outside of that I got the whole world in my hands song.
Yeah.
So like even stuff like that, I'm like, that feels like movie dialogue that you
Yeah.
wrote when you were just kind of punching through the script. And then you go back and you'd be like, would a human say that? I don't know. Let's take wide out. That's a
Mhm.
small example, but
and
there's
and lines like that throughout. I mean, my whole theater was laughing, like
yeah.
not in a good way. They were laughing at how terrible and cheesy this dialogue was.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know what happened. I feel like, yeah, maybe it should have come out 20 years ago and people would have
Mhm.
loved it, but not
Yeah.
today.
And I think
Eh,
what probably helped me to not be really harsh on it was I didn't have very high expectations.
mhm.
I the trailers didn't do a whole lot for me. I enjoy a lot of Spielberg's films, but the overwhelming majority of them I feel like are really long-winded. And you can't really say no to Spielberg, I guess. So they're not going to tell him, no, this doesn't need to be 2.5 hours, Steve.
Yeah.
But I kind of expected the movie that I got, and so I think that's why I
Mhm.
walked out going, okay, it was fine. Yeah. Whereas a lot of other people, like you said, you were really expecting maybe some Steven Spielberg greatness that you walk out
Mhm.
just way harsher on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like I can appreciate what he was attempting to do, but I can
Hmm.
also I just know from looking at all of his other work as you have,
Hmm.
in detail over the last month plus that like if he wanted to push the needle, he would have, and he held
Yeah.
back. And I
Hmm.
don't know if it's because he's scared of going too far and wanted to keep it high level and open to interpretation. I don't know,
Probably.
but it's kind of offensive to anybody that has gone down that rabbit hole, you know.
Yeah.
So and quick question for you, Annie, on a slightly different topic. What is your feeling about the nun character and the whole church, positioning in this to kind of elevate it into,
I
this
didn't
is part of
elevate
God's
it.
plan?
I didn't
Mm,
elevate it for me. I just thought it was pointless and I don't know. I just about 75% of the movie I thought was pointless and boring, and I just thought the opening got me and the end got me and everything in between. I didn't connect to it. Like I said, it was fine, but those even Eve Hewson's character, I didn't really care for.
mm,
I actually thought that was an element of the film that really should have been a bigger piece of it, because that is one of the more unique angles to take,
Interesting.
is not just like, can the world handle the existence of aliens? It's like a real legit look of like people that are devout religious that, I'm not an expert, but like say the Bible doesn't allow any,
Mm,
lore for aliens to fit into. What happens when something definitive comes that now calls the most, the thing that you've based your life off of and now is a big
mhm.
question mark. I thought that was a fascinating thing to dive into, and it's just like one line of dialogue. It's just that one moment with the nun, and I'm like,
Yeah.
even that, whether it would be a a storyline that would have mass appeal, probably not, but it'd be interesting because I've never seen a movie really dive into that. And I've known some really devout Christians, and you bring up aliens, and it's like dinosaurs. That never happened. And I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and it's like we were talking with Ricky the other day about like possession and exorcism, and like the Catholic priests even going on podcasts to talk about like their top 10 exorcisms and things like that. And there's all these like exorcism files. It's like detailed cases. And Ricky was saying, I still I just don't know if I believe any of that stuff. I don't know if I believe in
Yeah.
ghosts. I don't know, like there's definitely something paranormal and weird, but it's just hard to get behind any of it without, direct scientific evidence and things like that. So I know, as far as aliens and UFOs, UAP, whatever you want to call it, it's until you have your own experience, it's just kind of foo-foo stuff, right? So I want to ask you guys, have you guys ever had any kind of weird paranormal experience or UFO sighting or anything in that realm?
Alien wise, nothing. The only thing that I have had that was like a really weird, like, was that something paranormal? Was when I grew up in Ohio, our heating and air conditioning vents were in the floor, and one of them was right behind my bed. And there was like a month stretch there where we got this new little bunk bed with me and my brother, where we moved into the same room. And my dad used to always bitch at me because I, like, in the middle of the night, I'd push my pillow off the bed and it would block the heating vent. And he's like, lay on the other side of the bed. You're going to start a fire. And, as a kid, you're whatever. Like, freaking parents are paranoid about everything. And this random night, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I heard like this white noise, and it woke me up. What the hell is that? And I look, and on top of the TV, my brother had these little Power Ranger walkie-talkies. They're like the Megazords or whatever. And one of them was just on, just letting that white noise out. And I turn it off. I'm thinking he got up in the middle of the night, played with it or whatever. And I just woke up, and I get back in bed, my pillow's missing, and I pull it off the heating vent, and that thing was hot, like white hot. And so went back to bed, and my brother had no recollection of getting up in the middle of the night. Like I was dead asleep. We have no idea how that walkie-talkie turned on, but in my cool movie storyline head, that was either like a spirit or divine intervention of something that was like preventing a fire. It was like, wake up and get that fucking pillow off of the vent like your dad told you, you idiot.
Wow.
All right. Any experience along those lines, Annie?
No alien stuff, but I've been to like haunted museums and stuff. I just went to one last month when I went back to the UK. I think I mentioned it a little bit on a previous episode, but they've collected stuff from all around the world. They have like a piece of the wood from the Amityville house. When they redecorated it and they replaced the windows, they were like selling off part of it. So they have stuff from everywhere there. And they had a haunted mirror there that was covered up, and you could decide if you wanted to go around and take a look at it. And I was like, this is great content, Dad, get that camera. So my dad's recording me going around.
So you cursed your father.
No, I cursed both of them. It was like nothing necessarily happened, but you lift the cover up and you look in there, and like when I looked at my reflection, I looked like the color had like drained from my face, and like under my eyes looked really black at the time. And then I didn't think anything of it, but I put it online and it went viral, and people were like screenshotting my face before and then my face after I walk away, and they're like, look at your eyes after it, your eyes are black underneath. And then I weirdly got sick for like 2 weeks after it. So maybe I'm cursed. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird energy and weird experiences, I think, that we all have, and you can chalk it up to, randomness or whatever. It's so hard to like take that additional leap, which I clearly have. I believe in all of this stuff, probably too much. So I won't go into any of my spiels on it. But let me ask you, Cody, going back to your filmmaker cap, if you could redo the ending of Disclosure Day yourself, how does the best version of that end without trying to retread the entire plot of the movie?
I mean, I don't know. I think even just adding an extra little bit of epilogue or something and just showing the different results that came from it. Show people that are totally believing and trying to investigate. Show other people that are totally not believing and call it into question. Show some religious stuff. I mean, maybe just even that much. I haven't really given much thought to it, to be honest with you, because just even the whole destination of the third act just feels kind of like an outdated concept. So I don't know how we really get around that. But even just that little bit, I think, would have made it at least a little bit more interesting versus just like teasing you with one word and then cutting to black. And it's like, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Annie,
for
how about you? If you're playing director on that,
I
Spielberg
don't
says,
think
"Okay, tag team, you're now directing the final scene here." How does that play out?
anything can save the movie, to be honest. Wherever I put it's not gonna do anything for the rest of it. I would go back in time and not make a different movie.
Mm.
That's my answer. I don't know. I just think
You have the alien come out from Coleman Domingo, and then it just turns into a giant monster and starts ripping everybody's head off, and
yeah,
then
maybe we
cut to
just
black.
like tear the world apart and we see some gory deaths. Maybe that
Yeah.
might help. But
Colin Firth just getting his guts pulled out. I fucking
yeah,
told you.
Oh man.
maybe that would help. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, it would need. I think it needs more than a change in ending for it to be enjoyable.
Mhm. Do you think that the movie honestly would have really hit differently like 20 years ago?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not it the way the story, the themes, the look of it, it just feels like it belongs in like 2006. It's not
Mhm.
like I said, if I saw it in 2006, I would think, that was pretty good. Like, okay, the script's a bit, but I'd be like, the storyline is so good. Like the alien at the end, the news reporter. I was
I,
just looking at Kevin like,
there's a part of me that almost wishes we could like flip flop like War of the Worlds in this. Like, give me
yeah,
the
Mhm.
2004 version of Disclosure Day and give me the
honestly, yeah,
2026 version of War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. But I think, yeah, years ago it would have landed. I just don't. Again, Steven Spielberg, I see it and I'm like, I just don't think he's. I think we gotta let Nolan take the reins for a bit, or we gotta let other big filmmakers. I don't know. I don't. It's just.
He says he's doing a Western next, so I hope that can kind of maybe go back to some of his old school, a little bit more practical type thing. I mean, I don't know. I hope that his version of a Western is more like, The Unforgiven or something like that, and less like whatever Kevin Costner was just doing, like that 4-part epic that we're
Oh
never going
my
to see the
god.
3 parts of.
Mhm.
But we'll see. One thing that was funny, per what you were just asking about, like alien encounters and stuff, is I was at South by Southwest and he gave like a little conference for like an hour where he did like a little Q&A. And one of the things
Mhm.
that got the bigger laughs was he was talking about how people have had like these, have claimed to have had these encounters where they've been abducted or whatever. And he's like, I got to admit, I'm a little bit bitter that I'm not one of the ones. Like, I'm kind of a fan. Like, take me up.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he was saying in that Q&A before the movie, he's like, "I have not seen any UFOs. I've not seen anything that you
Mhm.
guys haven't seen. I've not had an experience." So it is interesting to me how a filmmaker with his access and creative abilities, chooses to keep doubling down on certain topics. But I think that's just part of the childlike discovery process of like playing with a different theme and saying what would happen. Right, I think a lot of like the Weapons movie, right, was like he had an idea of like what would happen if you woke up and all these kids were gone,
Mhm.
and then writing the rest of the movie as opposed to like having the whole thing framed
Mm.
out and working backwards. So they all have their own process. I mean, for me, I want to see Spielberg keep making stuff until he's not able to hold a camera anymore. And
Yeah.
and a lot of these filmmakers, like that's um it gives them purpose, right? Even with Francis Ford Coppola, my company Utopia just worked on Megalopolis. He's working on another film as we speak that I can't talk too much about. And he said, look, like I need to keep making movies. Like this is what I love, more than anything. And the genre can change, from here to there, but they do care about the audience's opinion. They do care
Mhm.
if the points they were trying to make resonate, or if they were too hokey, or, not going deep enough, or whatever it is. So, believe it or not, these guys are pretty sensitive. They won't show it on camera, of course, but they do care, what the takeaway is. So
Mm.
hopefully he, sharpens his pencil on the Western and we're enjoying that one in a year and a half or so.
I just hope that he can do something a little simpler. It seems like a
Mhm.
very consistent and frustrating trend that you see every phenomenal filmmaker go through, where they succeed a lot with these like smaller scale, really like more simple but excellent movies. And then as soon as they hit that superstardom, it's like the movies get longer, the movies get more epic, and they can never get out of that. I don't care if you're talking about Spielberg, Coppola, Tarantino, Nolan, they all do it. I mean, you'll never see a Tarantino movie that's 90 minutes again. And
Mhm.
so it just, I kind of wish some of these filmmakers had the ability. It would be impressive to me. It's like, can you pull back?
Yeah.
Can you kind of, can you get away from the hype level and do something more intimate again? Or are we just stuck in, 2 hour and 45-minute, $300 million budget land until you're retired?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yep.
question.
Totally agree. Well, anything else that you guys want to hit on as far as Disclosure Day?
I'd be curious, just for your different tastes, like what is a Spielberg film that you think is like highly underrated? Because people have varying opinions on like what's the best Spielberg, and it's always a different answer.
Well, yeah, for me, going back, Annie, to your point with Jaws, like that movie impacted me in so many ways, that I've talked about ad nauseum on this segment. But yeah, I mean, all like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, type films, like those are still fun. Like even if you know
Mhm.
exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, it's just entertaining. I just think that was really his heyday moment in terms of just the magic of like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have this character do that, this character do that, and it's gonna work, and it does, and then you add the John Williams to it, and it just you feel the movie. You're not just watching the movie, you're experiencing it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, for me, those are some of my favorites. I already mentioned, Ready Player One as one that I think is underrated. But I understand, the divisiveness, and then obviously he wants to get on some of the history of it, and he made a movie even about his own childhood, and
Mhm.
growing up and kind of moving around. Um, so I think for him, he doesn't mind if people don't connect with one film or another, of course, but it's like you can't imagine the number of stories that he has in his own mind and
Mhm.
that he gets pitched with and people willing to throw money, at it for him to get behind the camera and work his magic. So, again, that's why I say like I'm okay even if people consider this kind of a step down from, his classic hits, Jurassic Park, etc. Because he's still one of the best filmmakers out there.
Yeah.
So I want to see more. Annie, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know underrated because I've only seen his mainstream ones, so I haven't
Okay.
seen all of his ones. Are the ones that you've watched so far? Which one do you
Mhm.
say?
I mean, the one that I always go, I mean, of course, Hook. I was joking about it earlier, but
Yeah.
I just feel like for some reason, I that was one of those like dark secrets when I joined the internet. I'm like, people really hate Hook. What world am I living in? That movie's amazing. But I think my most underrated pick from him is Temple of Doom because it seems like people
Okay,
are consistently have that at the bottom, at least of the original trilogy.
interesting.
And that's always been my favorite. I don't know if it's because I watched it first. I don't know if it's because it's really dark and twisted and just kind of like tickles the horror fan inside of me. But I just find that film outside of the Kate Capshaw character, which I get, the criticisms with her, I find it to be so engaging and fun. And Short Round's a great character, and the back half of the movie is just balls to the wall insane. And so that's one that I've never really understood the low opinions of where, if Raiders came first and you have a love for that, I get it. But
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
people talk about even Steven Spielberg himself, I think, is a little down on Temple of Doom, like that was a misstep. And I'm like, no, do more.
Don't say
Yeah.
I like seeing the dark side of Steven.
it. I know we need more of it. We need another alien movie, but actually, like everyone dies at the end. I'm like, we need this.
Yep. There will be some of those. All right. Well, we covered everything. Any other shout outs that you want to give before we wrap this conversation?
I want to
Anything
shout
you'd
out
want to
my
recommend?
hat because people need to get these hats because I got it sent to me from this place on Instagram called Fixed Frame Store, and they have an Etsy
Hmm.
store as well, and they do all cool horror movie hats. I got a Suspiria one, I got a Mummy one. This one's my favorite, so I want to shout out this hat.
Nice.
It's a great hat.
I want to
Thanks.
shout out my hat. I only have because I decide to punish myself 5 days a week and go to the gym like an idiot. No, I'm just teasing. But yeah, I don't know. I was really trying to see the death of Robin Hood yesterday, and things didn't work out.
Oh
But
my
I'm
god.
hoping that that's a movie that I can shout out here very soon. Toy Story 5 was fine. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot that I've seen that's brand new that I could really get excited about yet. So hopefully that'll change
Yeah.
soon.
I saw Scary Movie 6. I wasn't going to go see it because everyone was saying how bad it was. And
Mm.
I don't think it was as bad as people were saying. I did laugh a little. I thought the opening was fun, but
Hmm.
it was fine. It was it was fine. I had an okay time with it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you as our viewers for watching this episode of Fear Assembly. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want us to discuss any topics. We'll have other films where we're getting to our opinions and some spoilers and things like that. So thank you, and we'll see you soon.